Coming up tonight, Foreign Ministerial Contact Group to hold discussions with Fiji tomorrow. Discussions on Fiji-Chile route and UN Women Australia to assist West Market vendors. Good evening, I'm Sandra Assam. New Zealand's Foreign Minister Marie Macaulay arrived in the country this morning to attend the Pacific Islands Foreign Ministerial Contact Group meeting with Fiji. Macaulay was met by Foreign Affairs officials at Nosori Airport.
But it is a significant meeting because there has been a pause between formal engagements here in Fiji. So I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm pleased we're able to have this discussion. I hope we'll be able to make some good progress. I think the fact that we're here is a cause for optimism. As I say, I'm very pleased that we've been able to arrange for the meeting to occur. It's been quite a gap since we've formally come here. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to have some very constructive discussions.
Members of the Ministerial Contact Group consisting of the Vanuatu, Tuvalu, Samoa, Australia and New Zealand Foreign Affairs Ministers will be holding a series of discussions between the Acting Prime Minister Ayaz Sayed Qayyum tomorrow and will also be briefed by the Strategic Framework for Change and Coordinating Office on the Nation's Progress.
We're going to be welcomed appropriately by the Acting Prime Minister. We're doing a series of calls on the key members of the administration here. I'm very happy with the arrangements that have been put in place for us.
Meanwhile, Australian Foreign Minister Bob Carr also arrived in the country this afternoon. The foreign ministers also attended a welcome dinner at Boren House this evening. More on that story later on in the bulletin. The Fiji Revenue and Customs Authority team conducted 4 days of flood survey during the Easter weekend. The team carried out extensive consultations with the Chambers of Commerce and individual business owners in the Western Division. FRCA has acknowledged the submissions made during these consultations and is fully aware that a significant number of businesses and their records were extensively damaged.
Businesses affected by the recent floods in the Western Division have been assisted through a waiver of penalties by the Fiji Revenue and Customs Authority. In accordance with the authority vested in the Office of the Chief Executive Officer under Section 48 of the Tax Administration Decree 2009, the following existing penalties shall be waived upon application in writing. Section 43 of TAD 2009, penalty of failure to file a tax return or lodge other documents. Section 44 of TAD 2009, penalty for failure to pay tax by the due date. Section 45 of TAD 2009, penalty for failure to maintain proper records. Section 47 of TAD 2009, penalty for breach of possession agreement. A list of businesses seriously affected by the floods has been compiled by FRCA as a guide to the following waiver of penalties. Chief Executive Titoko Tikolebu says full waiver of penalties are strictly for the businesses in the Western Division prior to March 2012 and full waiver of penalties for 6 months with effect from March 2012 for businesses with annual gross turnover not exceeding $300,000 or full waiver of penalties for 3 months with effect from March 2012 for businesses with annual gross turnover exceeding $300,000.
Fiji could soon tap into the South American markets to use the Chile-Fiji air route to help travelers get easy access from Latin America should talks follow through. Initially, there used to be flights between Chile and Fiji in the past. However, this stopped in the 90s. Recent reports coming out of our embassy in Brazil suggest that the South American continent is making a bold move to ensure that this route is back.
Fiji's ambassador to Brazil, Ramatu Lauma, says continuous talks with his Chilean counterparts are indicating a positive steps towards the reintroduction of flights, which could see a majority of the 9 million tourists which visit the continent on an annual basis travel via Nandi. The two countries signed air service agreements almost 4 decades ago in 1974. Permanent Secretary for Civil Aviation, Elizabeth Powell, says Fiji is ready to reintroduce flights with the continent. However, more groundwork needs to be done as the Chileans are proposing a bilateral open-air agreement. Powell says while Fiji welcomes the reintroduction of direct flights between Fiji and Chile, Fiji will have to seriously consider the economic impact of the proposed open-air agreement. Airports Fiji Limited has confirmed that they are ready to host more flights at the Nadi International Airport. Fiji currently has air service agreements with 28 different countries and territories around the globe.
The UN Women Australia is gearing up to lend a helping hand to female market vendors who were badly affected by the 2 recent floods in the Western Division. UN Women Australia is hoping to assist these women in terms of rebuilding and getting them back to business, as most are sole providers in their families.
The natural disaster has left many families devastated by the loss of life and loss of their livelihoods. The untold story is of the thousands of market vendors, 75% of who are women and are the sole providers in their families, who had lost their livelihoods and source of income. For many, the recent floods is the second time in 3 months since the Western Division was hit by the floods. As part of the project, UN Women in partnership with UNDP and the ILO will provide 20 days of paid work for urban women in and around the marketplaces, and will support rural women in agricultural recovery, facilitating the purchase of quick-growing crops and seeds. By lending a helping hand to these women, UN Women believes they can support their families in the immediate aftermath of the cyclone and help rebuild their livelihoods. Market vendors are reporting significant losses of produce, tables, mats and stools, as well as critical storage facilities and essential waste management facilities like bins.
Coming up after the break, Fiji to market at 2012 Yusu Expo, and government continues its relief assistance in the Western Division.